Hey everybody, I'm Mark Weathington, director of the J.C. Ralston Arboretum, and I'd love to show you around one of my favorite areas of the garden, Asian Valley. This garden has plants from all over Asia, trees, shrubs, perennials, all kinds of things. This time of year, one of the plants that always gathers a lot of attention are Amorphophallus konjac. The voodoo lily, cobra tongue, corpse flower, has all kinds of names. It's pollinated by flies, and so it has a very distinctive odor, kind of rotting meat. Another neat little plant is this ginkgo, a majestic butterfly. Our plant's still young, but you can see that great variegated striping foliage on that distinctive leaf. Another neat variegated plant is this Nandina domestica otafuku. And it's got kind of curled leaves that are heavily splashed with white. One of the best variegated Nandina around. As we head up the shady side of the pathway, a lot of great plants here. This woodland plant, really grown more for its foliage than its flowers, which are quite small but kind of nice, is a Chloranthus sessilifolius variety Austrosonensis. But the great big leaves and dark green foliage really make it nice in a woodland situation. Now, an unusual plant from the mind of Tony Avent at Plant Delights Nursery is this really interesting Arisaema, a relative of that first Amorphophallus. This is one called Crossing Over, and you can kind of see that beautiful stripe in there. This is a hybrid between two really pretty distantly related Arisaema or cobra lilies, which shouldn't probably breed together, but it wound up making a really interesting plant for us. See, lots of hosta in here, other plants. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with deer, knock on wood. Deer would be quite an issue for us. Now, another plant that people always want to know about are the Asian Mayapples. You may be familiar with our native Mayapple, Podophyllum peltatum. It's a spring ephemeral. It comes up, has kind of an umbrella leaf, and then it goes dormant very early in the spring. The Asian ones stay up all season long, and you can see this one, this Podophyllum, has these very heavy textured leaves with very serrate edges. The leaf stem comes right up to the middle of the leaf like an umbrella, and held under the leaf are the flowers. These beautiful clusters of crimson flowers, which will make big fruits as they mature. You do have to peek under the leaves to get a view of those, but they are quite nice. Now, we do collecting of plants in the wild, and one of my favorite plants that I've collected is this Polygonatum arisinense from Taiwan. It makes these really nice arching stems with almost whitish striped leaves on a purple stalk, and then just gets masses of these little white flowers with green tips hanging down below the leaves. It'll form little blue-black berries where each of those flowers are, and just makes a nice little slowly spreading plant in the garden. So a plant that we introduced from our wild collection is this evergreen maple. Doesn't look very much like a maple, but if you know about maples, they have these opposite leaves, and when it flowers and fruits, you'll get the typical maple leaves. This is Acer levigatum honglong, which means red dragon in Chinese. It gets that name because the new growth comes out brilliant red. It's mostly past that stage now in the season. And then the leaves go to kind of a silvery blue-green for the season. Makes kind of an upright, round-headed tree. Has survived down multiple times into single digits without more than a little bit of tip damage to it. We think it's a really exceptional plant. I'm really happy about it. We're just trying to get it tested a little bit more to make sure it really is hardy. But we're getting that into the hands of growers so they can start growing that and producing it if they'd like. Now, partially because we had such a mild winter, our alpinias did not die all the way back to the ground. Now, typically, and you can see some of this old foliage on Alpinia japonica extra spicy, which is a variegated form of Alpinia, a ginger, flowering ginger relative. Normally, these old stems are killed back to the ground during the winter. But we had such a mild winter that they didn't die back. Now they're kind of ratty and will need to be cut back. But because they did not die back, we're getting flower stalks. You see the flowers come from the old leaves. And they're really beautiful little flowers. If you look at them close individually, they've got a real intricate pattern to them. And they're kind of nice on top of the plants. But we will want to get rid of that old foliage when they finish up. Now, another group that we've been having more and more success with are some of the hardy begonias. This is Begonia pedatophyta, and we've been growing this outside for several years. And each year the clump just gets bigger and bigger. It has small pink flowers. They're nice, but they're not really why you grow the plant. You grow it for this amazing foliage. I mean, these leaves are almost 12 inches across. Really nice and stout. In a colder winter, you know, it helps to have a little bit of mulch on the crown, but they really have done very well. Another begonia, one from Taiwan, is Begonia chitoensis. And this makes a smaller plant. Not quite as hardy as that pedatophyta, but again with little pink flowers. Just a nice little addition to the woodland. Right. Now this shrub is, in the wild, you'd barely notice it. It's called Arisaema japonica, and it's typically solid green leaf plant. Doesn't have very showy flowers, but this form, called pearl frost, has this wonderful creamy to silvery edge to every leaf. And since it grows in really dense shade, it's a great plant for lighting up kind of a dark spot in the garden. We really are quite happy with this plant. I'll finish up with one that's it's a plant many people know who garden in the shade. This is a Tricertus, or toad lily. This is one called Tricertus lasiocarpa. And you can see those leaves are huge compared to a lot of other toad lilies. Now, this is a plant that in the shade garden, it'll flower with these arching stems and almost orchid-like flowers. Easy to grow, but unlike most toad lilies, which really thrive in shade, this one likes a bit more sun. So we've got it planted really on the edge of our shady area, so it gets plenty of sun. Well, I want to thank y'all for joining me on this little tour of the wooded part of our Asian Valley. It's always beautiful, and I hope you'll be able to come and visit us yourself soon. Thanks.